So B'siyata D'Shmaya, we're doing a Sefer Orchot Tzadikim in Shara Rishon, Shara Gava.
Please explain a little bit what is Orchot Tzadikim.
Right, so Orchot Tzadikim is a Sefer that deals with like having good midot, good character traits, and sort of like teaching you about the traits, how they work, and in order to give you a good understanding of like yourself in order to be able to spot the traits and like if they're good then strengthen them, and if they're bad to be able to uproot them. A lot of times people do things that they don't realize that it's a problem necessarily, and then they're reading and they're like, oh my gosh, this actually, I do this every day. So or maybe they don't even it gives them deeper, and the more that they work and try to understand how their character traits work, the deeper understanding they'll have of them, and they'll be able to spot it easier in a more easier fashion and be able to work on it more and become a better person. So here we're talking about the first thing is ga'ava, which is like arrogance and brazenness and haughtiness. So he says here that he says that there's two types of ga'ava.
So who's the author?
We don't know.
You don't know? Oh.
It's an unknown author.
Really?
Anonymous, yeah. Really? It's from 500 years old. It was first written in Yiddish, and they translated it into Hebrew.
And many yeshivot learn this sefer.
Yeah, I know.
Many bachurim, yeah.
So it says Hagava mitchaleket l'shnei chalakim. That the ga'ava, there's two types of ga'ava. Ha'echad geut adam begufo, ve'echelek hasheni geut adam b'ma'alot ha'chokhmah u'b'ma'asav. That one is an arrogance, a ga'ava in his body, and the second one is in his actions and his wisdom. So these two categories they're not the arrogance itself. They're the way the arrogance expresses itself. Right? A person will have arrogance inside of them, and it'll express itself in different ways. He didn't really give a definition of what is exactly the definition of arrogance. So I saw in the Sefer Mesilat Yesharim, he writes it very simply that it's that, let's say a person has a certain the person has a certain greatness to them, or they have a certain way, they have some certain thing about them that makes them that's a little bit better than what other people have, and because of that they think that they deserve X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that they think. For example, you're going to bring down, let's say, so there's two types. There's the goof, and let's say a person, they look very nice. They say, oh, I look very nice, so that means I'm better than all the people that don't look as nice, and therefore, whatever therefore is his brain tells him, the therefore should be the therefore, he should give me honor and respect, or whatever it is. Right. So then when we move on, he talks about how bad it is to have gava. So then he says over here, he says kol mekashet et gufo kedei litgaot, that anybody that adorns his body in order to have gava, in order to express his arrogance, harei ze shochech Hashem baruch hu v'lo yechush al mitzvot. That what's going to happen is he's going to forget about Hashem, and he's not going to care about doing the mitzvot. V'lo yirdof achar ma'asim tovim. And he's not going to chase after doing good deeds. Ki kol kavanato, because his whole intention is al atzmo, is on himself. L'kashet gufo hakaleh, to go and to adorn and beautify his body, which is temporal, and it's not going to last for a long time. It's going to last for his life, and that's it. Asher charito rima, that at the end of the day, in the grave, worms are going to come and eat it, and that's it. V'mekashet gufo hu karov lizima. And another negative reason that comes along with a person, beautifying himself and dressing all fancy and things like that, who karov lizima, that he comes close to, I guess, immoral matters. Ki yitrar lifnei nashim lisachin b'eineihem, because then he's going to go in front of women for them to find favor in their eyes. Umitoch kach yitzkarev etzlan, and then he's going to become closer to them in friendship wise, so to speak. And they're going to go and they're going to start, have lightheadedness and start joking around. This is going to side tangent a little bit. So what we have here is that on one hand, if a person decides that they want to go beautify themselves and wear fancy clothing and put a very big emphasis on that, there's negative consequences. That first of all, it makes him forget about Hashem. It makes it that he forgets about mitzvot and he's not following the Torah in the way that he should be, and it makes it that he gets lured into a world of promiscuity. So he brings down what somebody might think is the proper solution. He says, right, Shema Yomar Adam, a person might think the solution is, Ho'il va'agavi midara kokach. Look, arrogance is horrible. Efrosh mimenu biyoter. I'm going to separate myself from it as much as possible. I'm not going to eat meat or wine. Why would that help? I would assume because it's you're eating very fancy dishes. So I'm an important person. I have all these fancy dishes, and because I'm important like that means I'm better than all the other people who don't. And you feel like you're better than other people, and then that's gava. So therefore, I'm not going to have any of that. I'm not going to marry a woman. Right?
Why wouldn't he marry a woman?
Maybe because I have the best wife.
But then if
I have the best wife, so I'm better than all the other people.
I don't get it.
Why is she the best wife?
No, I don't know.
If he's not married, how
No, meaning let's say he is married.
Oh, let's say he is married.
He is married.
Okay, so he's not remarrying, you mean? Or
no, he's saying I'm not going to get married in the first place.
In the first place?
Yeah, or he's going to get divorced because he doesn't have arrogance.
Oh, I see.
He feels that he has the best wife in the world.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So he says, "This is bad for my gava.
Right,
it's bad for my traits."
I got you.
So he's going to get divorced, or he's just not going to get married in the first place. And he's not going to sit in a nice house. He's going to go and get a little shack, a bicycle garage, and live in there. And he's not going to wear nice clothing. He's going to go and he's going to wear torn things. He's going to go and take these the big bags that they put rice inside, those itchy he's going to wear one of those. And ripped and dirty. Stains. Like that. And he's going to use, he has a bowl and a spoon to eat his porridge, right? Because he doesn't eat anything else. And it's going to have dirt and it's going to be spider webs in it. And he's not going to clean it ever. And he's not going to wash his hands. He's not going to wash his feet or his face. It's going to get dirty and black and smelly. Until he becomes blacker than all the other people around him. And he does all this, why? To distance himself from ga'ava until he can't distance himself any farther. So if somebody does this, it's called that they're a sinner. This is an avera to do that. You're not allowed to do this. How do we know that it's asur? Because it says by the nazir, somebody who he takes a vow to not drink wine and to not cut his hair, and I think that maybe is there more than that?
Wine doesn't go through vineyard.
Right, great. He doesn't eat grapes.
Right, pretty much that. Yes.
And hair. Is there meat? He can eat meat.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Fine. so we see by him, it says v'chiper alav mesher chata l'nefesh, that what happens is when he finishes this process of being this nazir, he has to go and bring a korban. Why? Because it's like he did a sin. Meaning, even though he took upon himself for certain reasons to separate from wine and separate from cutting his hair.
Then why do they do it? Why do the Nazir they take the vow to do it?
I mean, I think there's a story in the Gemara about they saw the Nazir. What happens is, I think they shave him completely after they make him completely bald. So they asked him. So he had when he was a Nazir, he had a very long, very beautiful, curly, golden hair.
But why does he want to be a Nazir to begin with?
So the story was that there's this Nazir, and they saw he had very long, curly hair, and they said, "Why do you want to become a Nazir?" He said, "Because I was a shepherd once." Or whatever I'm not a shepherd, whatever he was doing, and he went to the well, there's the water, and he looked inside, and he saw his reflection, and he's like, wow, I look so nice. I never realized how beautiful my hair was. And then he realized, 1 second, that's ga'ava, that's bad. So you know what? And he decided at that moment, I'm going to become a Nazir. Why? Because then he's going to have to shave off all his hair.
Also, he had this thought of now that I'm so handsome, I can go after girls. So that's why that he decided to get rid of the hair and to become Nazir.
So that's one reason why somebody might become a Nazir.
Got it.
So even though it's a good thing that he's doing, at the end of the day, there's still some sort of sin involved with it. Amru Chachamim, and the Chachamim say, so we see somebody who just separated himself from wine, he's called a sinner. So if somebody's just separating from one thing, wine, and that's already a sin. So this guy, he's separating from wine and from meat and from getting married and from living in a house and from clothing and from being clean. So that's for sure going to be a sin. So right, that it's not enough that the Torah already forbade certain things. So now you're going to go ahead and forbid even more things upon yourself. So right, al inyan zeh v'chiyot b'zeh amar Shlomo anti tzadik harbe v'al titchakam yoter. Shlomo Melech said, don't be too much of a tzaddik, right, and don't be too wise, right, because don't put extra things upon yourself that you don't need to do. So I'm gonna skip a little bit. At the end, they bring in a story with Hillel that he was he left the Beit Midrash one day, right? And all the students went to ask him, "Hey, where are you going?" So he said, "Amar lahem la'asot mitzvah. I'm going to do a mitzvah." Amar lo, they told him, "V'chi ma mitzvah? What's this mitzvah that you're going to do?" Amar lahem l'erchot bevet hamerchat. I'm going to take a shower. Amar lo, v'chi zu mitzvah? What? This is a mitzvah? Amar lahem, yes, it's a big mitzvah. Ma'im okinu ikonin shel melachim shema'amidim oto bevate tertiyot bevate kirkasiyot ma shenitmana alehen. הוא מורקן ושוטפן והן מעלין לו מזונות ולא עוד אלא שהוא מתגדל עם גדול למלכות אני שנברתי בצל המדומות תכתיב כסלם אלוהים אתה עשה את האדם על אחת כמה וכמה. That we see that all the kings, what they would do is they would put these big statues of themselves in public places. They go put it in the theaters, they put it in the marketplaces, these beautiful statues that look just like them. And they would have people go and wash it and scrub it and clean it, so it wouldn't, if let's say it had a big thing of mud on it, it would be disrespect for the king, right? That his statue that looks like him is all dirty. So he says, so us human beings who are alive, who the Torah says that we have a tzelem Elokim, that we are created in the image of Hashem. So if we're created in the image of Hashem, who's the infinite God, not just a small little king who's gonna die in 100 years or however long he's gonna live, so for sure we need to keep it clean. Otherwise, it'll be a very a great disrespect to Hashem. So therefore, a person does need to make sure that they look nice for that reasoning, because they have to, beautify for Hashem. So what we have is sort of is like a double-edged sword. It's more like a tightrope walk. That on one hand, you're not allowed to make yourself look very nice. You can't adorn yourself. Why? Because the ga'ava. But on the other hand, you do need to, because you're you're representing Hashem. The king, when he has his servants and his guard, right, and his ministers, they all have to wear the uniform. They have to look very nice. So, exactly how are we supposed to do this? So he says at the end, if you're specifically going, okay, I'm going to, make myself clean, I'm going to put on, fresh, clean clothing, nice, not just like I'm going to go wear a tank top and shorts to everywhere I go. Wear, nice clothing. So, and I'm not doing it for ga'ava, to say I'm better than everybody else, I'm very important. No, I'm doing it because I realize that I'm a Jewish person. I'm representing Hashem. So even though it looks like ga'ava, since you're having your intention is I'm doing it for proper reasonings because I'm representing Hashem, then it's a mitzvah. So a person needs to be very careful when they go into these type of things. They have to think, okay, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this because it's a mitzvah? So that's one focus that a person needs to think about. So just one thing though was that in the beginning he said that if somebody goes and beautifies himself if somebody goes and they beautify themselves for ga'ava, for the improper intentions, they forget Hashem, and they don't care about the mitzvot, and they don't run after the mitzvot. So the question is why? Meaning, I thought ga'ava was just that. I thought ga'ava was just that a person has a certain advantage over another person, and they think that there's a therefore that, I'm better than the person because I'm a bit smarter than them, or I look better than them, or I'm faster than them, or I'm stronger than them, and therefore I'm better than them, and they need to give me respect, and they need to give me the honor that I deserve. Even though it's really ridiculous, because like in the eyes of Hashem, it's like a story, like the mashal is like let's say you had like a cage with like 2 mice in it, and you had like the little wheels that they run in. So one of them is running a little bit faster. So it's like, okay, everybody needs to give respect to this mouse. He goes faster. No, it's a mouse. What's the difference? He goes one faster than the other mouse. So like in Hashem's eyes, not us, yes, human beings have a great potential and power, but like in relationship to Hashem,
it's mice in a cage.
Yeah, what's the difference? No real difference. Yeah. You think you're better than him? That's a real difference. So yeah, a person could really be like a super genius and the other person won't be, and that difference, and that's a big difference, but really in the eyes of Hashem, it's one drop in the ocean. So the question is, why? So if that's what ga'ava is, just because, let's say, somebody has that ga'ava, why does that make it that they don't want to do mitzvot anymore? Right? If we're talking about a person, right? Most people, they want to follow the Torah, they want to serve Hashem. So yeah, a religious person who's following the Torah, they could get ga'ava. So why is that going to make them abandon the mitzvot? So I don't know if you guys have ideas, maybe throw it in. What I thought maybe he was trying to say was like this, that we're talking about specifically a person who's going and he's beautifying his body, right? He uses the lashon hamikashet gufo dekashet gufo kaleh asher achrito rima, that he's going and beautifying his body, which is very weak and is very limited, that eventually is gonna it's gonna be the worms are gonna get it. So if a person is going and they're putting an emphasis on this physicality, which is really just an illusion, it's fake, he's tapping into a fake mindset. The whole point of life is not for this world, it's for the next world. It's not for this this physicalness. It's not for this something that's temporary. Something it's we're doing things for the infinity. We're doing things for not for now, for later. But when a person goes and they're putting their mindset they're doing the exact opposite of what the whole life is supposed to be around. They're doing the exact opposite of that. They're putting an emphasis on the right now and on the physical. And if a person does that, it's very hard for them to do mitzvot. It's very hard for them to do the right thing because it's not ingrained within them to do that anymore, because they train themselves to go after the physical and to go after the temporal. So we see from here, I guess, how dangerous it is to over tap into this physical world, because there's a danger to get sucked into it. And if you it sounds like it's not so hard to get sucked into it. And so a person, this could, I guess, also could extend to not only just how you dress, but also like how you eat, how involved you are with your business. Okay, how much money do I practically need to do, to follow the Torah and the mitzvot and to live well? Do I need to be a billionaire? That's already going into focusing too much into this world. So a person needs to balance and have, I guess, try to have a self-awareness about, okay, how much am I focusing on this world over the next world? Because if they do put that focus, then they're protecting themselves from this risk of not caring about the mitzvah, not caring about Hashem, and things like that.
Well prepared.